Hello Desert Bearhawk fans, we're back in the shop today, and today we're going to discuss a problem I've run into, and I'm actually going to video each step that I take to repair or remedy the issue I have. So let's start with the issue. This here is the left rear spar, and this is the very wingtip end of it. And when the spar and the wing get assembled together, when the ribs get assembled, there's the tip rib that sits right up against, right here, right up against the end of the spar, and it's held on with some attach angles like these. Matter of fact, it was going to be this attach angle, and as you can see, this didn't turn out so good. You can see the holes are all beat half to hell, and I got damage along in here. And the reason for that is that when I was drilling along, happily drilling my holes, I drilled the end hole right on with the spacing that normally would take place, but I placed that hole too close to the edge of the spar. So when I go to rivet this piece in, I'm using the beat up one, but when I go to rivet this piece in and have to get this flush right here, in order to pick up that hole to get it right where I need it, the hole itself is too close to the to the center bend of the little attach fitting, the little 90-degree rib attach fitting that I made. So now I'm trying to get in there and buck those rivets, and it's just, you can see I've damaged all in this whole area, and it just was getting completely out of control. I tried it twice, and the only reason I'm showing you this piece is you can see just how badly this thing just got beat to death trying to get this in there. And then I drilled them out and tried to do it again, and finally I just said, you know what, I'm not dealing with that. You know, you can see the bars that go in between here. They've gotten beat up pretty good, and so on and so forth. So I needed a solution. I need to be able to rivet that angle on but not use these holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this 2024 T3 flat bar stock, and I'm going to make these shims, but or spacers, but I'm going to make them out of this. I'm going to make it so it sits in there like so, and then I'm going to double flush rivet here, and then double flush rivet. I'm going to double flush rivet all of these holes. These ones here just through the cap strips, and then these here will be, this piece will be double flush riveted on right there like that. It'll sit in there like that spacer. And then once I've got that piece in there, that spacer, then I've made a new attach angle, and if you look at the end there, you can see that one leg is very long compared to the other. You know, the original one was, they were pretty much even 5/8 legs. This one is much longer. And the idea is that I'm going to place this in position like so, and then I'm going to pick up a new line of rivet holes right here, halfway between here and here. I'll have the appropriate edge distance for each hole. I'll be able to pick up the line clean along here, and I will have the distance from the edge of this angle to get in there and properly rivet these down. So what I'll have is this piece in here like so, and then this piece on top like so, and you'll actually see a little bit of that. I could go through the painstaking effort of cutting this shim down to be the perfect size, and I may, but I may not. At the end of the day, it really doesn't make any difference. It's going to be a little bit of weight, but so negligible that it's not even worth worrying about. So that's what I'm going to do. I've done no modifications to this. You're seeing it just as we see it, just as it is, and then when we come back with the next segment, I'll show you how I'm setting up to do a double flush rivet here and here, and we'll just work our way through the process. It might be a little bit of a longer video, but you might find it interesting. Okay, so we'll be back. Okay, we're back in the shop, and what I've done is I've set up my micro stop countersink right here to countersink the holes, and I've already done this hole, and now I'm going to do this one for you while we watch. Now, for those who don't know, a double flush rivet, get on there. Double flush rivet means that it's going to sit flush with the surface of the material on both sides. So what you're going to do is you're going to countersink, like that's got a countersunk hole in it. You'll countersink for the head of the rivet. See if you can see. See how it's flat on top, but it's got a countersunk back face of it. What you're going to do is you're going to countersink both sides. Then you're going to drive the rivet on the shop side, the bucktail, and it's going to fill in this countersink that you put on the other side, and then you shave it off with if you have a rivet shave, you shave it off flush with the material. So when you're done, it's riveted together, but it's double flush. So there's nothing protruding, like this rivet head will not be protruding on the other side. This way you can lay something across it, in this case this bracket, and it'll sit flat. The rivet will not protrude and cause interference. So we're going to go ahead and countersink this hole right here. Now, everything was set up the same for this side, so hopefully nothing really weird changed, and we'll be able to get that right in there. Clean up the burrs a little bit so my rivet will slide in. And it's just a little crowd. I'm not really getting a square shot on this hole because that's a lot of material coming out of there. And again, deburr it. Okay, we're just about there. Every time, got to deburr that hole. I think that countersink's getting a little worn. There we are, we're flush. I can feel it, it's flush. Once I start driving it, it'll really be flush. So now we're flush. So now what I'll do is we'll do it to the other side. But here's the trick with double flush rivets. You don't want to countersink the other side as deep, because when you're forcing the rivet in the hole, the aluminum has a tendency to spring back, and you'll never get it to fill the hole completely if you go as deep. So what I do is I back my micro set off. Right here I just take this loose and move my collar, and then I will make this longer, probably that much longer, and then we'll just do the hole on the other side. We'll do those real quick while you're watching. If I can get in there. Uh-oh, that might be an issue. I can get into this one. So you can see that that's not as deep as the other side. And keep in mind, I'm going to actually make that one a little deeper. Keep in mind that this rivet right here, it's not really providing much to us. We're at the end of the structure. It's more of a, just kind of close the loop situation. You don't want to leave that open hole out there. But as far as strength goes or anything like that, we're not gaining anything. We're just kind of filling holes right now. And I like that better. Now if I can get to this one, I may have to physically tweak my flange out of the way just for now so I can get in there. And that pretty much does it, I think. Yep. All right, so now we're set up to do our double flush. So I will now get set up on the C-frame to do that, and then we'll come back and shoot some video. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're all set up now to use the C-frame to drive these rivets. And you can see I've got a flush set down here. It's not a cupped set like this one would be. This has got a cup in it for the rivet head to sit in, like a dome head rivet. This is for a 426 flathead rivet. It's a flat set, and then the driver rod has also got a flat set on it. And the idea is to drive them together. Now you could do it with a bucking bar and a rivet gun, but I'm by myself, and I will readily admit that I'm not a huge bucking bar fan. So I like to use my C-frame because everything gets held in position and we're good. Although we do have an issue down here. Whatever it is, let's see. There we go. Drop rivets. Dave's got to bend over and pick stuff up. Alright. So it's kind of a brute force thing. We're just going to put that right there like so. Get it kind of centered up on the bottom one, on the head, if you will. Kind of get that in position. Grab our 4-pound hammer. Kind of hold everything where we want it. And I'm sorry my arm's in the way, but that's kind of the only way it's got to be. And then you just give this thing you give it a hearty smack here. If everything works right, it should start to fill that hole. And it is. Yep, just about fill. Make sure it doesn't move off your equipment here. And now we'll just... And you can see now that the rivet has swollen past the circumference of the hole. I'm going to give it one more just to make sure we're good and solid. And that should be double flush riveted, and it is. It's flush here, perfect. And then on this end here, we'll have to shave this. Oops, I can't see it. I'm on the camera view. I still can't see it. What a tragedy. And then this end here, we'll shave that down with a mini grinder or a Dremel tool or whatever. I won't waste your time showing you doing that, but that's the idea. And we're going to double flush all these rivets just like that. So I'm going to knock those out, and then we'll get to the next step. Okay. Okay. I've cleaned up the flush rivet here, and I don't know if you can see on the camera, the autofocus is fooling around and whatnot, but once I prime that, if you didn't know there was a rivet there, you wouldn't know there was a rivet there. It is perfectly flush and filled the hole. Same thing with the other side. So now I'm going to make the piece that goes in between. Here, let me back that out so you can see the heck I'm talking about here. I'll make the piece that goes in between here, and I'll start to set that up to rivet it into place. Okay. Okay, here you can see I've set up to match drill the aluminum pieces. The one, I got the rear facing piece is in there now, clamped in place and being match drilled to the existing holes that were here. And then the top piece will get match drilled to the piece I'm drilling, and we should be somewhere. In case you've never seen these before, these are spring clamps. They work just like a Coleco, except for they open up and they do that. They're about almost $2 a piece for one of these, but they are pretty dang handy. You can see that I have them here holding everything in position, and then I drilled my first hole, Coleco, then I'll drill and drill. And like I said, we'll match drill to the other part and we'll be golden. And then we'll be ready to countersink those, double flush rivet them. Well, we'll countersink them, get them ready to be double flush riveted. Then I'll prime those parts real quick so we don't have any corrosion issues, and we'll be ready to go back together. Okay, here we go. Okay, you can see now that we have it calicoed in place, and we're ready to do the double flush rivets here, and then we can start getting to what the whole exercise was about, and that's getting that angle riveted in there. So I'm going to go ahead and set these up for a double flush, and I'm going to prime them. So the next time you see these will be primer green, and we'll be ready to rivet them in. Okay, I have manufactured the pieces, and they're in position. They've been primed, they've been riveted, and now I've got them taped off here so I can take my die grinder, which is this little dude right here, and I'll throw on a constantly dropping stuff. Throw on a abrasive disc, and I'll grind them down. I won't bore you with those details, but one little trick for you: if you have to do a few double flush rivets in your project, and you don't want to buy a rivet shaver, which is about $500, you can use the die grinder or a Dremel to grind these down. What I like to do is I like to put some tape around the area so my cutting medium will hit that tape and give me an indication that I'm getting down to the thickness of a piece of tape, so I don't end up removing material I don't want to remove. And one of the ways that I get the tape around the head of these rivets just perfect like that is I just take a standard 50-cent hole punch from the craft store. You just take your piece of tape, the blue tape, we all love the blue tape, and punch a hole in it like so, and that fits right perfect around a rivet head, so you can put it down around it just like that, and now you can grind without getting the material around the rivet. So I'm going to clean these up, and then we'll be all set to start putting in the 2 brackets and rivet them down and call this repair complete. Okay, we've got the piece flush riveted in, double flush and primed. You can't even see it now. There's no rivet head, no nothing sticking up. It looks really good. And I've already drilled the holes for the other 90. The only thing that's left to do now is to rivet this in place. So I'll fit that on there, and I'm going to rivet it real quick, and we will be done and repaired. Okay, there is the repaired or modified end piece. From what was a disaster with these rivets lining up way too close to this edge and not allowing me to drive them properly, to this repair that gives all the strength you could ever want, plus, and if we flip the spar over, you can see the back side is just as nice. I got a little rambunctious with this rivet right here and drove it a little hard, but the reality of it is that the structure is going to pick it up here and here. We're good all the way around. The end piece is in play that our rib attaches to, and we're looking good. So, took me about 4 hours, I'd say. Let's see, it's 5 o'clock now? 5 hours, and I took an hour, about 4 hours to completely manufacture and prime and put that together. The lesson to be learned here is that when you're building a home-built airplane, mistakes are going to be made. You can't just scrap a spar just because you got a little close with some rivets. So this was an easy and quick repair way to modify things. There's not a lot of vertical load on this. It's way out at the wingtip, very light loads. Both these pieces are 32 thousandths, and this is going to hold that tip rib in place just perfect. So there you have it. that's how we fix them in the shop. Hope you enjoyed the process, and we'll catch up with you next time. See you then.